Have you ever seen somebody that's sat down next to something disgusting and looked at it and gone, ew? There's almost that look of disgust on her face, like kind of, oh, they've arrived and they're going to be sitting next to me, and I don't want them touching me. I don't want them, my clothes touching theirs.
All right, we are back again with Gavin Stone, and last time I talked to Gavin, we were talking about his prime minister, Keir Starmer. I think, however, it's only fair that we look at this side of the pond. And we had an event here. Jimmy Carter lived to be 100 years old, former president of the United States, and he just passed away. Rest in peace. 100 years, not a bad run. But anytime you have a president pass away, their funeral it's a big deal. And it's a rare opportunity where you get to see former presidents, current presidents, all together. And this is, possibly the world's smallest club. There are not that many people who become president of the United States. And in this case, you have not only the presidents, but you also have several vice presidents who attended. But in this setting, whatever you want to put it, at this funeral, you get to opportunity to see the interplay between different people and what's going on. And there was some interplay. Wouldn't you agree, Gavin?
Oh, yes.
This is an odd situation because we have the arrival of Donald Trump, for example, who is both a former president and president-elect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's only been, he is the second person in the U.S. history to be elected twice, but not concurrently.
Yeah, so this is a bit here where the first approach, it almost looks like they weren't going to stand or acknowledge him. They were just going to try and let him walk past. If you look here where he's holding his jacket there, so we've got Al Gore and Mike Pence, and you can see, and this has probably been pointed out by one or two people, that he seems to be pulling that jacket in what would normally be considered a defensive and very kind of protective posture, and he's pulling it in and holding it there. The thing is, I actually think if we put this into context, there's a little bit more to it than that, because I've seen other clips of him, and when he stands, he's pulling his jacket in. Now, maybe he's got a nasty stain on his shirt. Maybe, I don't know, his belt buckle's not very good. I don't know. I really don't know. But he's pulled that in on a couple of occasions, and he does it again later on when he's shaking hands with one of the other presidents. So,
okay, so just so I understand, it could be a fit or tailoring type of thing to make sure that he's presentable, not necessarily protective.
Exactly, yeah. So if we're putting that into context, it's not necessarily so because he was previously sitting down, he would more than likely have it unbuttoned. He's not going to stand up and button this up every time he stands up to shake hands with somebody. He'll just hold it in place like he is doing, and then shake hands with the person that he's shaking hands with, sit back down again, and let it open back up again. So the fact that a lot of people might be seeing this as something defensive, and could possibly be anyway, doesn't necessarily always fit, because, like I said, there are other people that he shakes hands with. I have had a look at some of the other clips, and he does exactly the same things with other people. The interesting fact here was when President Trump was walking, and President-elect, I'm just going to say President Trump for the sake of it.
Yeah, he is, former and future, so yeah.
That's it. So when he was walking into the immediate area, neither of them looked like they were going to move to start with. And they'd got a look of uncertainty of like, do we stand? Do we shake hands? Do we ignore him? Will he go away if we pretend we can't see him? There was that kind of a little bit of a, we'll replay it, and you can see eventually they kind of both realised, like, oh, yeah, we better stand up. We better do what we should do. That was the moment of realisation.
It looks like Al Gore led. That when Al Gore went ahead and stood up, it looks like that cued Mike Pence that he better. And just so people, especially on your side of the pond, understand, part of the reason people are watching this so carefully is because there is a huge rift potentially between Donald Trump and his former vice president, Mike Pence. And there were some events that happened January 6, 2021, and Mike Pence was at the center of those events, and that was about certifying the election for current President Joe Biden. And it is a huge rift in the Republican community about Mike Pence, Donald Trump. Things have settled down quite a bit, and it is actually very good to see them shake hands and potentially move forward beyond this rift. But it is definitely there.
Yeah, and you can see with that handshake as well that is a neutral, like kind of mutual handshake. So there's nobody trying to get the upper hand, and a lot of people don't realize this, or maybe they do. I'm not sure, but President Trump has a way of holding your hand when he shakes your hand and kind of twisting it just slightly, just enough to give him the advantage and what they call the upper hand, and will also pull you down. So while he's twisting one way, he'll also pull you down. Hypnotists use a very similar technique to put you, or partially put you, into a trance when they're doing that kind of thing. It's what they call a rapid induction technique, and what it does, it kind of throws you off guard because you're not expecting it. So hypnotists use that with other things as well for the induction. But what happens is you're expecting to shake somebody by the hand, and when they pull you, it, like I say, it throws you off guard. And you're, oh, I wasn't expecting that. It takes your mind away from what you were doing and allows the other person to have the advantage cognitively.
I don't know if you know this, Gavin, but Donald Trump, when he was growing up, his pastor was one of the preeminent hypnotists in the world. Is a gentleman who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. And Norman Vincent Peale, I believe, is his name. And Scott Adams has pointed out many times, if you listen to Donald Trump's language, it is absolutely out of the power of persuasion. So that handshake and what you just described, and did you know what I'm telling you?
No, I didn't know that his pastor was a hypnotist or who he was. No, I didn't know any of that.
So I think you may have been spot on that is in fact possibly what he is doing.
Oh wow! How about that? Well, yeah, that's something I've spotted before and described to other people, but never said publicly before. So yeah, that certainly would explain why he does what he does normally with the handshake. But in
his language also, you will see it, because he uses very strong visualizations all the time, which is part of the persuasion and hypnosis. Like, he doesn't say, prevent people from crossing the border. He says, build a wall, a giant wall. And he draws visual thinking and things of that sort. And Darren Brown, who's somebody I know you've studied quite a bit, has talked about when he's been almost mugged, getting out of mugging by hypnotizing the muggers by saying, you're feeling weak, like your wall is so small that you can get over and it's fractious. And the language is very powerful, and Donald Trump uses this. Scott Adams, who has written some books and constantly talks about being a trained hypnotist, describes this all the time.
Oh, well. So there we go. That's good confirmation of what we were saying then.
If you look, Melania is there, right? Melania, his wife, has walked ahead. Now, Donald Trump does shake the hands. And so Melania is saying, oh, okay. And she goes in to shake Mike Pence's hand. She attempts to shake Karen Pence's hand, Mike Pence's wife. And Mike Pence's wife absolutely is stone-faced and is not there for it at all.
Wow.
Okay, so next entry.
Yeah. I thought this was really interesting. If we pause it there for a moment, I like the fact that Barry has acknowledged Trump, and Trump has acknowledged Barry on his walk in, but neither of them have gone for a handshake. He's gone straight in for the handshake there with Gore and Pence, and pretty much kind of almost made it look like he was ignoring Trump. He wasn't, because there was a very quick flash of them seeing each other and giving almost a very subtle nod of "I see you, I'll be back to you." He's kind of picked up his book, and I think that was something that was probably more for other people than anything else, because he's acknowledged Trump, gone over, done his handshakes, and then he's going to go back to Trump in a moment.
Right, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because a lot of people are making hay out of that, saying that that Barack Obama blew him off or ignored him, and he did not. You could see that nod of acknowledgement, and if you look at a normal social setting, all these people behind them, it's not like he can sit there and talk to them during the funeral. It's not like he won't have immediate communication. So he has to go to them, shake them, acknowledge them. And then when he goes sits down, he's right next to Donald Trump the whole time. So he doesn't really need to go and shake his hand. They're going to spend some time together coming up.
And of course, you've got the whole thing, that kind of nod that he gave was an "I see you, I'll be back in a moment." And so men and a lot of women, I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but men have kind of two nods. And nod number one is like an acknowledgement nod that is normally amongst friends. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's like an upward nod. And then the other side of it is almost when you see somebody who's like an enemy at times, or sometimes it can be down to appreciation, and that's a downward nod, and you'll give them the kind of downward, like, "I see you, I've plucked you." That one there, it was very, very subtle, but it was a downward nod, and it was almost an appreciation of, "I understand that you know this situation is delicate. Thank you. I'll be right back." So there was almost like a mutual agreement between the two of them there for a second.
Yes, and there's a lot of baggage between the two. Remember, only a month and change ago, Barack Obama was calling essentially saying that Donald Trump was a World War II Germanic figure. I think the term fascist might have been thrown around by his friends. Let's put it that way. So this is very interesting in some of that, too, where you can see where there's political loaded language, and then there's reality. Because if you honestly think somebody is Hitler, you're not going to be comfortable talking to him.
No, not at all. And they do look very comfortable in a while.
Now that right there, if you look at next to Mike Pence, she does not look very comfortable right now.
Not at all. That was almost a look of kind of, "I can't believe after everything you've said about him." We're here in these circles and kind of discussing and having conversations on a friendly tone. You can imagine, and we're going to cover this a little bit later on as well with some of the other people that come into play. You can imagine the conversations that have been had at home that have been very, very different to the ones that have been had in public between these men. And when they go back after this funeral, I imagine there are going to be a fair few hot discussions between spouses.
Yes. Do you think that look of disgust is more at Donald Trump or Mike Pence? Because Mike Pence doesn't look too comfortable to it. He seems to recognize a chill in the room. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's me.
I think he knows he's going to be getting it in the neck later. And I think that look of disgust is a little bit of both from his wife there. I think that's a look of kind of, not only am I unhappy with this whole situation and the people around me, but I'm also annoyed at the fact that you're putting on a public display of kind of, hospitality. Yeah. and of course, these people know that, this is going to be everywhere overnight. This is going to go viral. So, there are a lot of ramifications of every single action of each and every one of these players.
And I'll just point out one last thing. It may mean nothing, but her name is Karen.
Karen. Yeah. She hasn't got the usual haircut, but, she's definitely got the demeanor.
All right. So there we go. They're talking.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of what we were talking about. No handshake needed.
No,
They're communicating here. This does not look uncomfortable.
no, definitely not. And I like the way he's casually. So if you look at Barry casually flicking through the book, he's not looking at that book. He's not reading that book. He's got no intentions of taking any notice of the content at the moment. What he's trying to do is trying to look as casual as he possibly can. And I'm not going to get down to the point of who people do and don't like and the reasons why and whatever else. I'm going to call things and say things as they are. Barack Obama is a very charismatic and very kind of influential person. Whether you like him or whether you don't. Same with Trump. They are both really, really great charismatic figures. And he is the kind of person who can quite comfortably sit in many situations without worrying about what's going on around him. And this is a perfect example of that. He's sitting next to somebody who publicly he opposes, apparently, around people that have all got daggers under their cloaks, and he's happily sitting there flicking through the I forgot what the name of what they call those.
That's a program of some kind.
Yeah, the program. There's a church name for it, but I can't remember. Anyways, he's casually flicking through the program, very, very relaxed. And that is Barack Obama through and through. I don't know where his husband is at this point. I don't know where Michelle Obama is at this point. And because she doesn't show up at all, does she?
No. From what I understand, she had a conflict and was in Hawaii. I don't know the details. There is the rumor, but there's always rumors that, there could be something to miss, but you never know about these things. So.
Yeah, but interesting, and also interesting in the choice of ties with one or two of the people. Obviously, being a funeral, it's usually black tie, and I've noticed one or two people there have gone with the choice of blue. So whether that's deliberate or whether I refuse to believe that a president or any of these people, for that matter, don't have access to a black tie.
Oh, there's always an intention in the way they dress, I believe. Yeah. Always. I don't know what symbolically it means, but yes, they're between themselves and their staffs, because I think they all still have staffs or people to guide them. There's always an intentionality in how they dress. Yeah.
And of course, Trump hasn't gone for the usual red power tie because it's a funeral, but at the same time hasn't gone for the black suit and the black tie with the white shirt, which shows that, look, I'm a little bit different. Blue is usually a sign of trust. A lot of people have gone in and they've worn, one or two of them have worn dark navy blue suits, but the majority of them are in the standard funeral black attire.
That was a great exchange. That was a hey buddy.
Yeah,
a very friendly exchange from W. George W. Bush, by the way. We call him W. It's not meant to be necessarily an insult. It's just kind of a nickname that we've given to him. But that flick to the chest is, culturally speaking, George Bush is a Texan. And one time he was quoted as saying, people like to talk about my swagger. In Texas, we call that walking. Yeah, that was essentially what he was doing there. Hey, buddy, notice I don't think he acknowledged Trump.
He didn't. All. I was going to bring that up because what you'll notice is that clever little maneuver that Dubby just did. He literally walked past the Trumps straight up to Barry, give him a tap on the belly, the friendly Texan way, and it was almost a kind of a way of he made a beeline directly for Barry. He's come up and he's given him that tap of acknowledgement, and that was almost like a get out of jail card for him because it looked like I don't need to acknowledge the Trumps at all because I was just trying to get over to be friendly with Barry a bit sharpish. So he's given Barack Obama that tap, and then he's kind of walked past. And
I love Donald's expression here, though. Look at Trump's expression. Trump's expression was, let's see how this guy handles it, in my opinion. He's literally gauging what is W going to do. How are you going to do that? Is that what you see?
Yeah, so you can see him sitting there, very dubiously looking, trying to weigh up the
Little
odds.
smirk.
Yeah, that's it. He's got that. He's got that smirk. He's got that half smile on his face, and he's thinking, "Yeah, let's see you. Let's see how you handle this one, then, Dubby. Let's see how you get through here." And to be fair, he did a brilliant job. George W. Bush come straight over and just kind of, did his little action. Give Barack Obama a tap, and that gave him that moment of, hey, I'm here and I've done my bit and I'm now sitting down.
And it was almost like a team effort there because
He stood up at the
Barack
same time.
stood up. So
Yeah.
Obama stood up, which gave W a target.
Mhm.
Melania, by the way,
Yeah.
I picked on Karen Pence a little bit. Melania's not happy with them either.
Oh, definitely.
That is not a happy expression.
No. And if you see, she's very aware of what's going on around her with all of these things. That you can see that she's watching closely to not only to see how they react to her, but how her husband's going to react to them. I will also add here that a few people have gone on about her being very stone faced and miserable during this, but I believe it was also the anniversary of her mother's death.
Really? Okay.
So I've been told. Somebody somewhere might be able to check that out for me and say whether that is.
I'm not
true or
sure
not.
because I want to say that the anniversary of her mother's death is when Donald Trump was shot for some reason, and that was there was some people who felt like there was like a spiritual thing of like her mother was looking out for the son-in-law. So I don't know on that, but I mean it's a sad occasion.
Well, yeah.
I don't expect joviality all around. I mean, this is W, and W is going to do that. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that W is missing Michelle Obama because they're known to be kind of buddies. There's always exchanges, like he gives her candy, or there's little back and forth with them, and he might be missing that. So I think that there's a very friendly relationship between W and Barack Obama. Much the same way as W's father and Bill Clinton very famously were very close friends up until obviously George Sr. passed away.
Yeah.
So.
I will really go over what you said as well about Barack Obama standing up at that perfect moment as well, which kind of also helped out by giving W a little bit of an out there as well. It kind of almost acted as a shield for a moment to say, look,
yes, because he had to acknowledge him. So Barack gave him that by standing up. It's like, oh, somebody standing up. You have to acknowledge the person standing up. And he just happened to, bypass that. And Barack knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh, he did. And it was perfectly executed. Absolutely brilliant. It worked out very, very well for all parties concerned, in my opinion.
I wish we had a camera on Trump at that exact moment so we could see, because you saw his expression like, okay, what's this guy going to do?
Yeah.
And
I would have liked to have seen it afterwards.
I would have loved to see, because I bet you Trump would have been going, all right. I have a feeling he would have appreciated it because it was smooth.
It was very,
All right. So now we're back again. We've got Trump and Obama talking. And here we go with the Clintons.
Hey. Now, that was just absolute gold. Because
interestingly, they did not acknowledge Barack or Donald.
More importantly, they also didn't acknowledge W at all. He was the first to stand up. He was the first to greet them. He was the first to look accommodating and hospitable in any single way. And they didn't even look at him. Even after they'd shook hands with everybody else, they turned around and sat down and pretty much ignored him. And everybody in the rest of the row as well.
And he doesn't look happy about it. He actually kind of looks surprised.
Yeah. So that was really interesting because I would have thought they would have at least, because not like I say, that he was the first one to stand up and make it obvious that, look, I'm standing up to acknowledge you, that I'm and be friendly and show a level of hospitality. And like I say, that they kind of, when he stood up, that was when the others stood up afterwards and they acknowledged everybody else except him, and that really, really did throw me. The rest of the people at the end of the row, I can kind of understand that. And at first I thought maybe that's the Clintons' way of saying, well, if we acknowledge W, then we've also got to acknowledge his wife. And then if we do that, then we've got to acknowledge Barack Obama. Then if we do that...
This is a problem, though, because if you think about it, let's watch this again. I want to point out some things. Okay, they made a beeline. Right by. Okay, so now Hillary did not acknowledge her old boss. Keep in mind that she was Secretary of State under Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama also endorsed her. Bill Clinton endorsed Barack Obama. They're both Democrats. They're in the same party. So it's very interesting that they ignored W, but then at least W is the opposite party. W followed up after Bill Clinton. Maybe they don't get along, whatever. That's actually kind of consistent because there are a lot of Democrats who literally call W a war criminal because of Iraq and Afghanistan. And there's some controversy there. But why is it that they bypassed Barack Obama, who technically was her boss and supposedly a friend? I would say that is a sign that there is potentially two power structures that you're quite literally seeing within the Democratic Party represented, where there's the Obama wing and the Clinton wing, possibly.
Yeah, it appears possible. There's definitely some tension there, one way or another, because like I say, you can see because even after they've sat down, it's not just a case of we didn't shake hands with anybody further up the road. They didn't even look down and go hi or give any kind of acknowledgement. It's they sat down and they're looking at, like, don't look at him, pretend we can't see them, kind of thing. And they definitely look extremely unhappy and very, very uncomfortable.
But Karen Pence looks happy. Now, isn't that interesting? Karen Pence looks happier than Mike.
Yeah, I wonder what she knows.
I mean, did you notice that before? But look how happy she looks like. Whoa, look, my old friends.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice that until you pointed it out because I was too busy looking at the others. So, and you can see the smile on Mrs. Bush's face there as well as she's looking over. So whether there's any kind of acknowledgement going on visually that we can't see, whether Hillary's looked at her and given her a smile or a nod or anything or not, I don't know, or whether there's just a hopeful glance and nothing being reciprocated. Unfortunately, we don't have the camera angle to be able to see that. So.
Strange dynamics, though.
Yeah, very definitely.
See, look at that. That was a very open, warm exchange with Karen Pence there. It even lingered. The smile even lingered. It was not a fake. It wasn't a persimmon. That looked like a Duchamp smile, like she was happy.
Yeah, that was definitely genuine. You could see it in the eyes. So
now, very interestingly, Barack quite literally didn't care. And Trump didn't care. That I think is interesting too. I don't know if you agree, but if you look at the two of them, let's watch them deal with it, because here's W. W is like completely out in the cold. He has no love from the Clintons, no love from Barack and Donald. Watch it. Okay, what do I do?
Yeah, you got to feel sorry for him there, haven't you?
Yeah, and see, they're talking to each other, fine, no problem. Don't even care anybody's there. Okay, never mind. Actually, he was just looking down, so never mind. No, he did look over at them, kind of like, well, guys.
Yeah, he did give them a couple of chances to say, hey, you're going to say hello to me as well. But yeah, and the entire time, Barack Obama and Trump are sitting there kind of doing their own thing in their own little world, having a little chat. And like you say, they don't care. They're not bothered, not fazed by it at all. They're having their little conversation, and whatever's going on in the world is not really their problem at that moment.
Even Melania seems to be kind of not involved with them.
Or with much else. That's a very,
W looks like he swallowed, something that's very bad.
Yeah.
He looks so glum. I mean, he really does look glum.
He looks like he's just been let down, doesn't he? He looks like. Have you ever seen? You know when we used to stand as children and we used to have to pick teams. You'd be in school and your teacher would pick two people, and you'd pick one and pick another, and then you'd be standing there and it'd be the last two kids, and you'd be looking at them, and everybody would be thinking, oh, we're gonna have to pick one of the, and the look on the last two kids' face of like kind of, oh right, I can see. I mean, nobody wants me. I was the last choice, kind of. That's almost the look he's got there of like, yeah, I'm the last remaining kid to be picked.
100%. 100%. So sad. Now he's trying to get somebody's attention and nod to them.
Yeah, now I'm curious there. I've got a question there with so I don't know if you've ever seen certain politicians when they come onto stage and there's the claps on the chairs and the cameras panning on them and they'll go, yay, looking at you and giving thumbs up. The truth of the matter is they're not doing that to anybody in particular. They're making it look like they are. They're making it look like they see people they know. They're making it look like there's one person in the crowd. But it's BS. It's just for the cameras. It's just playing up for people. And so they're waving like they know somebody personally and giving a thumbs up and pointing to somebody like they're a friend of theirs. And the truth of the matter is there's actually, 9 times out of 10, nobody that there on the other end that's actually taking any notice of them or whatever the case may be. It's literally just done for the cameras to make them look a lot more popular than they really are. And the reason, there was a study done a few years ago. One of the factors, they went around schools and they asked who the most popular child in the school was. And they looked at the attributes of all the popular children in comparison to all the other children. And all the popular children had one thing in common, just one factor. There was other factors that were spread about, but one commonality amongst all of them. And that was the fact that the most popular kid in school liked the most other people.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, the number one rule is if somebody likes you, you're inclined to like them back.
Yeah, and that's what made them ultimately so popular. So, so basically, what happened was they checked this list out, and there was something called micro interactions or positive micro interactions. I can't remember the exact name, but anyway, the bottom line is this popular kid would walk around the school and it'd be like, "Hey, Darren, good to see you. Hey, Bobby, nice to see you, mate. Hey, how did you get on at practice last night, Karen?" And and so there'd be all these little micro interactions that were all positive, and that was what made them popular. And that's where this whole thing come from of politicians going, "Hey, look at you, yay!" And as they're walking, it's to make them look more popular than what they are, more liked than what they are. And therefore you associate them with being the popular liked kid. So
now, in fairness, some of them may legitimately have always been popular and naturally do that. I think that.
Oh yeah, one or two of them will, but the ones who have had training, that's where they go. So there's what was making me wonder with W there when he did that thing. Did he genuinely see somebody? Or has he just gone from being the last kid that wasn't picked to going, I'm going to make myself look a bit more popular here?
It was a switch. It was kind of a switch because it just looked like he was getting his bearing and then did that. So I don't know. But let's go ahead and look. I was talking about the conversing between Trump and Obama. And I love this particular close-up. And that is perfect summation there. That seemed like a genuine laugh.
Yeah, it was.
From Obama. It was not ha ha. I mean, there's a looseness in his shoulders and the laughing and the expectancy of that. And then here they are, they're both. And then this guy right here, totally left out.
Yeah. You can see from the minute that he starts laughing there, it goes, we've discussed this before about being able to see the smile in the eyes. This is a genuine smile. This is genuine laughter. This isn't just something that's been acted and played out for the camera. And you have got on top of all of that, the fact that you can see his entire body chuckles. So yeah, I mean, it is a genuine thing. And, there was something else.
You would almost think they were friends. I mean, that was a very friendly exchange.
Yeah.
Very friendly.
Yeah, definitely. It does make you wonder what was said. I did send you a thing. I don't know if you got it or not, about the lip reader that actually managed to partially translate some of it.
Okay, so now we have a little bit more. It's very, very interesting. So we'll go next to Vice President Kamala Harris entering with her husband. And this was a very odd thing. And I want to point it out as we go, and then you can tell me what I'm seeing. But
yeah,
okay, they're walking now. Walking along, right? She's on his left.
Mm-hmm.
Cuts in front of him. Hold on, but this is where it gets interesting. Cuts in front of him, sits down, and then makes him go around her. So what's up with that? That is a very odd little gesture, in my opinion. Let's watch that again. And you could tell me, because that seemed like this crazy ass power play with her. Okay, I'm in front of you. Boom, cut him off. Literally almost blocked him. Then says it, and then, yeah, you go there.
Yeah. So that was a definitive sign of, I'm in charge. I'm calling the shots. I decide where we go and who sits where and whatever else. And when she gets to the point that it's time to sit down, she kind of stops, puts her hand on the shoulder, guides him in, says, "Right, come on, Simp, sit there. This is where you're going to be. I'm going to be next to you." She's made the decision. Very, very defensive with his posture and where he's sitting with his hands between his legs. She's picking up.
And the two buddies are still talking behind him.
Oh, yeah. Interesting to see that people are picking up the program to almost use as a defensive distraction. So rather than saying I'm going to sit here uncomfortable, that they're using that program to make it look like they're doing something more than what they actually are. I don't think anybody's actually reading that. I think that's just it's a pacifier.
All right, our last bit, because we've got to cover our final guests, and that would be the current president and First Lady, Joe and Jill Biden. And this is their arrival. And this is so obvious that even CNN, who are known to probably favor the Bidens, have to acknowledge this is different.
Started the year as the would-be Democratic presidential nominee, and we all know what happened after that. Again, you didn't see a particularly warm greeting between the first couple and the second couple, but again, we are at a funeral, so...
All right, so let's go back. What he just said, because that is in fact true. Here we go. Here they go. They're walking in to sit down. And I can see that Kamala is turned toward them.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is facing.
Started the year as the would-be Democratic presidential nominee.
Kind of thrusted her head as she was turning to sit around. This did not feel like an exchange.
No.
Kamala has an expression on her face like she's been snubbed.
Yep. In fact, if you keep it paused, sorry.
Know what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. On that last frame there, you can look that. Have you ever seen somebody that's sat down next to something disgusting and looked at it and gone, ew? Mm-hmm. There's almost that look of disgust on her face, like kind of, they've arrived and they're going to be sitting next to me, and I don't want them touching me. I don't want them, my clothes touching theirs. It's almost very kind of. Like she's really repelled by the fact that they're sitting next to them. So her husband's not even looking in the right direction. She's kind of completely
I think
over
he's
there.
looking at the rest of his life where he would like to be.
Yeah, probably. And the whole scenario that when they said it wasn't a very warm exchange, I don't even think there really was much of an exchange at all, was there? There was certainly no pleasantries.
No. And Joe Biden's expression is not much better than Kamala's.
Oh dear.
And his is like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that sums up, I think, the entire exchange of everybody.
I don't want to say too much about Joe Biden because he gets picked on such a lot, and sometimes you've got to feel sorry for him because, you know what? I'm not going to say he's. I think he's past his best as far as the world's concerned, and him doing what he needs to be doing. And I think he'll be glad of a break when he actually leaves the White House.
Yes, that final expression of his is not the best, but I think the whole interplay between all these extremely powerful, world-changing figures here is fascinating, and I would love to know what all of you think. Do you agree with what Gavin and I have seen? Do you have other observations you would like to share? Please let us know below. And you know what? You've made it all the way to the end. You like this kind of thing. Maybe hit that subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.